Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Rising in Love podcast, one rose petal at a time. My name is Vanity, and I welcome you to this beautiful sacred space devoted to sharing about, learning about, and inspiring each other about all the different limitless extensions, aspects of the conscious frequency of love. Today, I have my beautiful, beloved soulmate sister, Lindsay Worek. She is and has been, I'm just going to say it, my most profound, heartfelt, sacred sister that I've experienced on this planet. Like, it's interesting how we came in contact with each other, how we weaved in and out of each other's lives, and every time we come back stronger and more blossoming. But to share a little bit about Lindsay Worek, to me, Lindsay, you are definitely the conduit. You have a beautiful podcast called The Conduit on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And you are, to me, the epitome, and it's been so beautiful witnessing you walking and weaving in and out of all the worlds as far as being a spiritual being, having a human experience. It's been so beautiful. You are a connector. You're the bridge, not only between your mediumship, bringing messages from those that have crossed over the rainbow bridge to people, to communicate with them again, but you connect people. You have opened your heart and have been nonstop learner in this, in like the spiritual aspect. And you introduce people. You've introduced so many people to me. You've introduced so many things to me on my own path. I'm eternally grateful for that. And you are the transmuter. Yes.
Yeah.
You are devoted to learning how to alchemize lead into gold and shift and change one state to another. So that is what comes through when I tune into you, my beloved soulmate sister. And we also share a beautiful lineage. You have opened your heart and extended your arm to me to welcome me onto walking for that 2-year internship, walking the Rose Shamanic priestess path. And we've both completed that 2 years and learning how to walk a very narrow path and devoting our time and committing to our ascensions together. And shout out to Elaine Marie Rose for holding us in that space and showing us and teaching us. The sacred rose heart is extremely powerful medicine to me. And yeah, I'm representing with the roses today. You have your floral on. We're devoted to learning about all the different aspects of our sacred rose heart to share that with the world, with each other. And it's bringing me into wanting to talk to you today about the sacredness of relationship with ourselves, first and foremost, with each other, and with the world, and all the different types of relationships that get weaved in the human experience, if you will. So that's what's coming through for me. I love you. Thank you so much for being here. And I am so effing excited to continue discussing all that comes through for us today that we're going to share with everybody who is wanting to dive into love with us. Cheers.
Well, cheers. Yeah. Oh my God. First of all, I'm like trying not to cry because that was not the introduction that I thought you were going to give me. And it was just beautiful. And I'm honored that you feel that way and see me in that way, because in my heart of hearts, that is what I aspire to be for others.
Oh,
And
you're doing it.
yeah, I'm doing it. And it's hard, but I also feel like every other day lately, I'm just crying because just, all kinds of different things are bringing out the emotions in me. But I'm grateful as well to have met you. And you have also been a very profound teacher to me as a friend and soul sister. We've definitely been going through it. We've committed our life to ascension through the shamanic rose priestess path. And it's been a journey. We've definitely been on a journey. So I'm excited to be someone else's guest on a podcast and just have an open, honest, vulnerable conversation. So I'm
Yes.
excited to be here. And I know that this has been a long time coming for you, having this podcast. And it's funny because intuitively this morning I was like, I'm going to be on Vanity's podcast today. We are Rose Priestesses. I want to wear my pink flower dress. And then I was so busy this morning. And then you texted me saying, I'm wearing my flower dress. And I said, of course you are. Well, in my head, I'm like, of course, because it's all in divine alignment. So I am really grateful to be here and have this conversation with you and just let spirit and our guides speak through us for this. So thank
Yeah,
you.
definitely
Love
calling
you.
and inviting the presence of our higher selves to be present during this conversation. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, so as far as the Rose Priestess work, we definitely resonated with some of the medicine of the Lady Masters, the Ascended Masters. We work with them very intimately in our practices. And I did make a little note so I didn't miss anything, but we took sacred vows for the different rose vows, covering truth, focus, balance, innocence, erotic awakening, compassion, sovereignty, stewardship, humility, surrender, self-knowledge, purity, and the eros germos. So it covers that. Those teachings cover all of those aspects, and there's so many different teachings to all of them. And working with that medicine, working with so in my journey, I've learned that I'm less separate from these beautiful divine aspects and consciousnesses and energies of the Lady Masters. They are me, I am them. We're here to do the work that they once did, and they hold us with the utmost compassion and patience while we navigate through this human experience, to remember who we are and to remember our rightful place to hold that medicine for ourselves and share that with the world. So that's one thing that I really cherished about that work. And yeah, we'll get into more of how we become our own beloved. That's pretty much what it covers. It's becoming your own beloved.
Yes.
We're programmed to look for love outside of ourselves, but it starts with us, man. If we can't leave from behind is what really lands for me. And in our line of work, we are of service to so many in so many different ways. But if our cup is not full and we've learned so much about self-love, we cannot leave from behind. We are full force, it's thrown in our face anytime that we have to get down to do the inner work, to become the best versions of ourselves, to transmute and alchemize what is holding us back from being in complete coherence with our most authentic selves, our love aspects, our I am presence. So anything would you like to share about that?
I mean, as you were talking, I was immediately thrown back to when I first started being aware of the Rose Path, which came through to me first through the Sophia Code, which my friend Tammy, she referred me to that sacred codex. It's a codex. It's basically, you're doing these invocations with the rose. I know now they are the Rose Priestesses, right? They're the Rose Priestess lineage. And as I did that work, I called in one of the most intense relationships of my life so that I could choose myself. And the Sophia Code talks about DNA activations and reaching higher frequencies and working with the different energies, like the ones that you just mentioned, like all of the things that we learned through the Rose Priestess lineage. And I called in this tumultuous, toxic, intense relationship so that eventually I would choose myself. And in that relationship is how I discovered Elaine's work. And my partner at the time, him and I did a sacred sexuality class, and Elaine and another man that she used to work with led the class. And that's how I met Elaine and became, you know, on that frequency of wanting to know more about Elaine and Elaine's work. And then I found out that she was working with the Rose Priestess lineage. And that's kind of how I got called to that work. But at the same time, as I'm, you know, consciously being called to that work, I'm on an unconscious level also doing all this other work by being in that relationship. And then ultimately at the end of that relationship, asking Archangel Michael for help and getting out of it, and then the aftermath of healing of that. And then as I continued to walk the Rose Priestess path with Elaine, I called in another relationship that was intense in a different way. And in a different way, I had to choose myself as well, because ultimately my path is about ascension. And ultimately the choices that I made at the end of that last relationship were about love for me first. And then that love for myself hopefully will vibrate out and cause ripple effect of more love. And honestly, that all the relationships I've ever been in have changed me. And every man that has been in my life has changed me. It's been a very powerful experience, and it's all of them have helped me to choose love for me, love for them, and what can I do. And now I view it as, what can I do that is the highest of love for all of us. And so it's interesting how once we seek, right, I sought out this higher path. I've always been called to the higher path since I was a kid. I felt very connected to Archangel Michael, and then pursued the yogic path in college, and then eventually the shamanic path, which has led me to the Rose Priestess lineage. But it's interesting how our lives are basically, it's like we are these spiritual beings having earth school experiences where we, like, I'm seeing it two ways right now. It's so intense, but it's like, here I am, this human self, I'm having these relational experiences, right? And then here I am on the spiritual plane, and I'm ascending because of this. Does that,
yeah, because our souls sign up to experience certain things that put us on that trajectory of ascending higher.
Yes.
Holding a higher vibration, a higher state of consciousness. And it's all bringing us back to love, because in all of our paths, we're all leading each other home. And that home is our I am presence, where we are one with all, in coherence with all.
Yeah, and I feel like you have been a very powerful witness to all of my experiences, where choosing love is hard. It has been difficult for me in the past. Of course, when you're being treated a certain way, or you're being physically hurt, or you are betrayed. To me, betrayal it's the hardest thing. It's also it's hard for me sometimes to understand and wrap my head around when people act in certain ways, because it's just behavior that I wouldn't do, maybe consciously in this life, but in other lifetimes I may have done that behavior, and that's why it's so triggering for me. You never know, but I just think that relationships are the teachers here. Relationships of all kinds are the teacher. The romantic relationships, the friendships, the business relationships, and all of it presents choices of, are you going to choose a higher frequency of love, or you can stay the same? You know, you can perpetuate your chaos cycles or your karmic loops, or you can choose to ascend. And both are hard, you know, in different ways.
The more karma you clear, the more of a graceful experience this all can be.
Yeah.
And I found that the more I choose love at the end of the day, and the many extensions of love, like forgiveness, acceptance, appreciation, compassion, and presence, yeah, that's always helped me go through these tumultuous times. And it's interesting, because right now, as you know, like I'm going through my own transitional phase with my own beloved, with my own partner, and acknowledging, like when you are stepping into like your divine feminine essence, and one of the rose vows, the first one is of truth. So like the divine feminine energy is truth. So you're not able to numb yourself anymore. You're not able to keep your mouth shut. You're not able to stay in relationships that you know are you're not evolving. And it's been so beautiful being able to go through this with my partner, and we are not like in survival chaotic energy. We are just such in a loving, nurturing, compassionate, honest, and coexisting energy, and it's been so beautiful. So you know, when we step into these relationships of our divine counterpart, you know, being on this path, we're meant to share that love with others. We're meant to share it with the world, with ourselves. We're always evolving, always being mirrors for one another. And what's been beautiful is seeing how he and I were able to now, in this present day, in spite of these transitional phases happening in our lives, we're able to share love still with each other and everybody else, being a walking testimony that it does not need to be a discordant energy, you know? So that's beautiful. And we're in total surrender with everything and just pure acceptance and honoring each other's paths right now. And we're giving each other the sacred time to do the inner work that we both need to do individually. And whatever the future holds, we're all for it. So yeah.
I
But
heard
it's
that.
interesting that that's happening, you know, when I was gonna do this podcast with you and talking about, I really wanted to talk about the sacredness of relationship. But yeah, when you step into that, you are more deliberate with your choices, and knowing how there's a consequence for every single choice. And there's no, in the shamanic path, you know, there's no such thing as good or bad, right or wrong. It's all light energy supporting us, or it's a little denser energy keeping us in a state of suffering and separation.
Mhm.
So it's been nice to observe and see through those kinds of lenses too.
I honor and see you and Daniel in your process. And it reminds me years ago, Gwyneth Paltrow and Chris Martin did their conscious uncoupling.
Mm.
And I thought at the time, that is amazing that they can consciously uncouple themselves and there's no insanity, right? Because they had to co parent.
Mm-hmm.
And in the last two relationships, I distinctly recall having conversations with my partners, different different partners, but the first one I remember sitting right in here looking at him and saying, this isn't working anymore. And before we further hurt each other or ourselves, let's just end it. And in his wounding, he saw that as an ultimate rejection, when really I saw it as, this is going to get really bad if we don't end this now. And it did get really bad, really bad. And so I consciously tried to uncouple that. And the last one, I had communicated where I was at with all of my feelings in a loving way, saying, like, I love you. I'm unhappy about this. I love you, but I'm unhappy about this. And this is where my head is at. And as, right, we talk about truth as women. And I talked about this with some coworkers yesterday. Like, once we're done as women, we're done. We're kind of done. We will speak our truth and hold on when we are still in that emotional connection. But then once you don't hear us anymore, we kind of move on. But I do recall giving my last partner opportunities of, listen to me, like, this is where I'm at. Like, it's going to end if things don't shift. And I also wanted to uncouple in the way that we could remain friends because we're in the same community and everything like that. But our choices have consequences, and he made different choices, so it didn't end up in that way. But it is hard, right? When we're in the human experience and we are breaking up with someone, whether that be a friendship breakup, because those hurt too. Those hurt too. It's natural, I think, for us as humans to just want to blame and say, well, it's your fault, or I wasn't as bad as them. But I do love that you mentioned the shamanic perspective where things aren't good or bad. They just are. And it's either a lighter energy or a denser energy. And just trying to look at things in that way. And I always try to look at my part in every situation, even if I'm viewing myself in the moment of emotion, because emotions are just energy in motion, right? Just energy moving. And so when I'm in heightened emotion, I'm going to maybe view myself as a victim. But when I can take myself out of that heightened emotion, then I can see, okay, well, this is the part I played too. And then you take yourself completely out of that victim mentality bullshit. Because, right? Because even
Yes.
when, yes, because
One thing that you and I do so well is we hold each other accountable.
yes, that's a big thing for me. I respect accountability and integrity. And even if you fucked up, okay, I messed up here. This was my part in it, and I'm sorry. And I know I've always been that kind of a communicator. And sometimes it's too much for people. They don't want that level of truth. They don't want to hear that. They're not ready to hear that on a frequency level too. So that's just who I try to be. Do I fall short? Yeah, of course I fall short. I'm a spiritual being having a human experience, but I do try my hardest, you know?
Yes.
And I love that you and Daniel can show and demonstrate that relationships ending, because time and love is eternal. So even the ones that have hurt me in the past, I still love my soul loves them for the lessons that they've taught me and the levels of ascension that I have literally grown, because I view, like, I hit my lowest emotional bottom this year, the lowest of low of my entire life. And I'm 35 and I cry almost every day. But without that experience, I wouldn't be where I am right now, like right now in this moment. And Hams and I just talked about that on the conduit, that with is suffering necessary to an extent, right? Because you talked about clearing your karma, and then you can choose how much you want to suffer. Oh, here's Charlie. We knew he'd be back. He always comes up here for these. Bless him. I wish he would like sit up again, because when
So
we
cute.
first call, he was like up here.
Yeah, holding each other accountable, holding ourselves accountable. And I am also super grateful, and I'm eternally grateful that Daniel and I, while we navigate through this, we're feeling more, we're not feeding and tuning into the story of the human experience. We are only focused on the energetics of this whole thing, and we're choosing love for ourselves and each other at the end of the day. So it's been a beautiful process. And when we made that decision, all I could think about was all the many doors that are opening, you know, like, because it's like you end one thing, something else, it's a death and birth process. So,
It
and
is.
it's so beautiful to be able to still hold each other's hands as we're doing our own individual work, and being there for one another. Like, the only thing that has changed for he and I is the labeling that humanity and society and ourselves have placed on us. Nothing else has really changed, honestly.
Yeah, and I think that that just demonstrates true love, you know. And I think that at those moments of when you're seeing like your relationship is going in a certain direction and you're saying, okay, like this isn't working in this way, like you can choose to bow out gracefully with love, which is what I have tried to do the last two of mine, just because I have done the other thing where we break up and it's this hateful energy, and it's harder. I think it is harder to heal with hateful energy,
Mm-hmm.
for sure. And so, you know, although the last two relationships were completely significant and hurt me in unimaginable ways, I feel that I can still send both of those men love because I can see them.
Yes.
Like I can see them as the seer that I am and as the shamanic priestess that I am. I saw them the whole time. I still made choices.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I'm not a victim here. And I do wish them love and healing. I wish everybody that I've encountered on my path, whoa, love and healing, because I don't know enough. I
Yeah.
don't know another way to heal, because staying in that low, dense, hateful, pointing the finger energy keeps me in that karmic loop. But if I choose love, then I can ascend,
Yes.
because what you're sending out, you're gonna receive back. So,
Mm.
and then I also just finished this. I think I told you about it. That positive intelligence program I was doing. Did I tell you about that?
Mm-mm.
Well, I just completed a 6-week positive intelligence program where you really tune into your senses to get beyond your emotional saboteur mindset. So it talks about the saboteur versus the sage. And my dear friend and my podcast guest, Debbie Reynolds, does this work and coaching work, and she's amazing. And she gifted me this program. Well, 6 weeks ago, you know where I was. So God bless her. And it teaches you to really get in touch with your physical senses to get out of that emotional saboteur mindset, the negative mindset, to get into your sage mindset. And so I don't know where I was going with this or why
Is
I
the
meant.
sage mindset more neutral?
It's, yeah, like you can make decisions from a neutral place. Oh, I know where I was
Okay.
going with it. So one of the weeks we talked about, he had us take a picture of us as a child. And I have this picture of me that I have out like all the time, just so I can look at her and tell her, like, I love you. And it's this picture of me as a kid. I think I was like either here in Myrtle Beach at like the pavilion on like one of those boat rides, or I was at Six Flags, but either way, I'm like 5 years old. And so you take this picture and you look at it and you send your inner being, your inner child, love and compassion, because a lot of our saboteur negative mind and negative behaviors come from when we were a kid. Things that we've learned and experienced. So it also, during this week of the positive intelligence class, was talking about viewing other people as children,
Mm.
especially when they are hurting us, viewing them as like a child, maybe having a tantrum, and then looking at them as a child also helps me to view them as a child of God as well, and not this malicious entity, but someone that has accumulated wounding over a long time. And this is the way that they know how to deal with it, because they don't know any better.
Yeah, we've heard it
That,
time and time again. Hurt people hurt people.
yeah,
But when we respond in a loving way, that transmutes. it just automatically transmutes and alchemizes, and it is of a higher vibration and a higher state of consciousness. So it's got no way if we will it so to stay active in our own fields, because it's not about us. It is about us, but their projections at us, they're not us to take on. Like, we set those healthy boundaries to not
Absolutely.
take on other people's hurt and just to lead by example.
And people also, you're talking about projections and such, people can only process things from their level of perception.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it's fascinating if you think about that too, because I used to be so wrapped up in what do other people think of me, or what are they saying about me, or what are they calling me, but that doesn't even matter, because it's going to come from their level of vibration and level of perception anyway. And I don't have control over that. And so my friend says this to me all the time: I'm fine with being the villain in your story.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if that's what you need me to be, then that's what I guess I'll be.
Yep. I'm only focused on my I am and who I am, and the answer is always I am love at the end of the day. So all these experiences, we are human beings. We're not perfect. We practice the shamanic energy medicine of the hummingbird, of like how the imperfect can be perfect, and reminding ourselves to take those moments for ourselves to drink the delicious sweet nectar from life itself. um but all these experiences, especially as far as romantic karmic um soul contracts, if we choose love at the end of the day, then I truly do believe that it does strengthen ourselves to be able to step into an inner knowing of what works and what hasn't worked for us, to stay in that vibration and becoming our own relationship expert with ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has free will and free choices, like we can, I mean, we've experienced this too. I can suggest and offer any sort of perspectives or guidance that I think are more in a loving vibration. But you have the free will, I have the free will to choose, and it's all part of our ascension process to learn the things that we came here to learn and experience. But at the end of the day, when you step into knowing that all these contracts and experiences, relationships with people, they are here to bring us into our own sacred union with ourselves. That's been really important, especially since doing the Sophia Code, doing the Rose Shamanic Priestess work with you. That's what's really landing for me right now. Even when I'm going through this with Daniel, it's like, how am I being guided to becoming my own beloved more? Like the love itself. That's why I wanted to do this podcast, is because there's so many millions of people walking the space. Like, everybody has a different experience with love, how it's found them, what's worked, what hasn't worked, different experiences. But yeah, it's all about coming home to ourselves and being able to step in that sacredness with a relationship with ourselves. Because, most of us know, you just bring your baggage, you bring those unhealed traumas and wounds to the next relationship that you find yourself in, if you don't do that inner work to transmute it, alchemize it. And that's really it's not anybody else's problem to have to do that for us. But in a loving, devoted relationship, you do witness the other go through those things, and you hold them in a safe container to do that work too. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, definitely. And that's why, we've learned through the Shamanic Rose Priestess mentorship and just my own personal experiences over time that, for me, jumping into another relationship after ending one, it doesn't work for me, because there's obviously things that I need to look at before I go into another relationship. And I honestly don't think I've ever really given myself enough time or done enough work on myself. And so I'm viewing this recent experience as an opportunity to really choose myself. And I knew that 35 would be my most blessed year with difficult endings. And it for sure has been that so far. And I think it's, a blessing, these things that happen to us that put us on our path, and who knows what's going to happen with your path now that you're choosing, to uncouple from Daniel. You don't know. And if you could stay in that vibration of hope and love, then I only see good things, and that's kind of how I'm trying to be. I'm trying to be grateful, although this has been probably the hardest time of my life. I have a lot of composure right now, but I mean, I've cried. I'm doing all the things that I need to do to heal right now, but it's been definitely the hardest time of my life.
And I
And
love like the crying. It's a blessing. It's like an anointment. It's an energy release. So like enjoy those tears. Enjoy them when they come out.
yeah, I'm just not judging myself for them. I don't really consider myself too much of a crier, but maybe I am because I've just been crying so much to just release the stuck energy in my body, and the tears it just feels like such a release to cry. So yeah, it's been that. But
Aw,
that these situations cause us to become our own beloved, because what choices are you making? Are you making choices to enhance your magnificence, or do your choices make you feel like shit and keep you in a karmic cycle? Like, you are the author of your life. Like, I just recorded my podcast this morning for next Tuesday, and we talked about being the author and creator of your life and taking responsibility. And she's a healer as well, just like you also believe that we are the space holders where we hold a sacred space for people, but they're doing the work. You're not, I'm not going to heal you. And now that I recognize when people, like romantic partners, aren't willing to step up and do the work, I have to go, because that healer mentality, empath mentality, wants to kick in, and I want to give you everything and I'll lose everything. And so learning that love is also healthy boundary setting is a whole other lesson too. But I think these tough experiences really do enable us to become our own beloved. And I think that that's been the Rose Priestess path this whole time, is without it being labeled as becoming the beloved, it's what we've been doing.
yes.
Right?
Ah, I was when you were talking, I was thinking about how Daniel and I were going through what we're doing, but we're still going to be doing the work together. Like our medicine is strong. We were just telling each other yesterday, like, we're so fucking awesome. We're fucking awesome. We're super powerful. Our hearts are strong, regardless of where our paths are taking us separately or individually. But we're still gonna bring our medicine and facilitate gatherings for our community together. And again, the only thing that's changed is just the label of everything. So yeah, I hear you. Becoming our own beloved, it's so important. And it's important for the men to be inspired to do this work as well. It's not just like, we're females talking about this. We're a strong divine feminine presence, but we are asking and so thankful for when the men are doing this work too, becoming their own beloved.
It is really important. And I think it's important too that you and Daniel obviously are shifting in a romantic sense, but the fact that you don't have that jealous possession of each other is going to be the reason why you can continue to do the work together. And I love that, because yeah, I mean, I just love that. I think that it is important to continue to do the medicine for people
Yeah,
together.
regardless
And
of
even
the
if you're
story of
not,
anything.
yeah, even if you're not like romantically linked, then it's okay that you can still work together, and maybe you get romantically involved with someone else and he gets romantically involved with someone else, but you guys can still like be friends. Like, I don't know why that isn't a more normalized thing in society.
Hmm. Yeah. Heard. We are honoring it. Um, so I know we've been focusing on more, I mean, we're focusing on relationships, but I would love to talk and share more about the sacredness of our relationship being soulmate sisters. How have we chosen love at the end of the day, to always come back into a place of acceptance, honoring, forgiveness. You know, we say when we say when we're parting ways with people, you know, wishing you the best, wishing you the best, but like really embodying that for the other person. And like some of the lessons that we have learned, I would love to touch upon that as well.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, for us, we've always respected each other. And I had this conversation with Lauren Calloway as well. We literally honor each other as women, as individuals, as humans, as spiritual beings. And when we do have disagreements, which isn't a lot, and I don't think it's a lot for us either, because you and I and Lauren and I have open, honest communication where there's no passive aggression. It's just honest and vulnerable. And if there's something that I don't agree with or you don't agree with, you and I have always shared that with each other, but not in an attack or accusatory kind of a way.
Yeah, for me, it's been
And
like, I'm just allowing you to live your life. You
yeah,
deserve to live your life and learn all that you need to learn, all that you want to learn, whether you know or not. And the same with me. So that's been really beautiful. And I just love the fact that you and I, there have been moments where we've needed to set that boundary and go off into our own ways, but we always come back together so strong. I started off the conversation talking about that. And I fucking cherish that so much. And it's so important. We need sisterhood in this life. We're not meant to do this alone. We are not meant to degrade each other or be competitive and be judgmental towards each other, put each other down. We're meant to raise each other up in this life. So I
yeah,
love and I'm super grateful to be able to experience that with you.
I think that you've also helped me a lot in that perspective of not comparing myself to others, especially when it comes to previous relationships. I've compared myself, and you've held me accountable to not do that. But as far as our friendship is concerned, I feel like it's kind of gone beyond friendship, and now we're just like family. Like we're soul family, and we're soul mates, like in the way that we're supposed to be in friendship relationship like this. And so I feel like it's transcended beyond just a friend. Like I literally feel like
Yes.
you're my family. Like I trust you. Like, I don't like asking for help, and you're probably the only person that for I've asked big things help, and you have helped me. And you also have held me accountable, and in a way that is kind and loving and compassionate, not heavy. Or like I said, we don't attack each other, and we have had time apart as friends. And I honestly can't recall why we took the time apart, but it was obviously a necessary part of our soul contract and our journey. And so it has really only made us stronger. And I also think that we are just truthful and in a loving way. And I think that's really what makes the friendship and the sisterhood so solid. And friendships like the one I have with you have healed like the sister wound. And I do have long time friends. I have friends for a long time. Usually that's pretty much how it is with me. And I've learned so much from all of those relationships. And something else you said that, a light bulb moment happened was you said that I allow you to live your life. And I do the same for you. And there's no judgment, and there's no like anger because, oh, you didn't listen to me. There's no ego in that.
Oh, well, it's you're talking ego death, ego death, ego death is coming through hard for me right now.
yeah, because, and that's why I don't really give, even as a healer, a
Yeah.
space holder, a conduit. Yeah, whatever. Beep boop beep boop. So like it's what? I'm serious. I don't give advice. I'm not the one. I don't know. You know. I can help you sort out what's going on with your chakras or deliver the messages from the other side or from your higher self, but
Mhm.
I'm not going to tell you what to do because that's not my job.
Mhm.
Quite frankly, it's not my job. Now, I will say I have worked hard on judgment, and that is because I judge myself harder than anything. And so my judgment of self has often radiated out, and I've judged others, but it's because it starts with I judge myself so hard. And now I'm moving into the space of it's okay, I love you. And then when you
Passion.
love and show compassion and forgiveness and empathy to yourself, you treat yourself like a best friend. It's like those choices that we make. I really think about it now, and it's like, would I tell my very best friend to do that? Or would I talk like that to my very best friend? Okay, then why am I doing that? And why am I talking to myself like that? And so everything does start from within. And I think beautiful soulmate friendships are mirrors. And I mean, I'm just so blessed because I feel like I do have really amazing women in my life now. And I don't know what I would do without them. And I think sisterhood and healing the collective sister witch wound or whatever it is super valuable and important. And so I'm grateful because I've learned so much through our friendship about myself and about other people and just about healing and all of it. So I'm really grateful that you're in my life and I do love you very much. And yeah, I do believe that everybody that we come into contact with is our soulmate in the way that our souls connected to learn something for a reason, a season, or a lifetime, a lesson and always a blessing depending on how you look at it, you know what I mean? So yeah, faux show.
Thank you. Thank you for extending on that. Um, so we're coming up on the end of the
I
podcast,
can't
and
even believe it. I'm like, what? I feel like we've only been talking for 10 minutes.
I know, I know. Well, you'll be back. You'll be back.
I know.
There's
I feel like
plenty
we
of
should do
things to
this
talk
more.
and share as far as love goes. It's infinite. But I want to ask you, as far as how are you going to choose love today? And what can you offer listeners today to be like spark a little inspiration of how they could possibly choose love today for themselves whenever they are tuning into this particular episode? How are you going to walk the walk and talk the talk and choose love?
I think, well, I know every day I have been being hyper aware of my thoughts and feelings, and I have been praying for people that have hurt me, and that has put me into a loving vibration. But also, having gratitude immediately puts me into a choosing love vibration. Being grateful for everything that I have and knowing that I am being supported and loved and taken care of by God, Source, the infinite, the one, unknown. I try to just be aware. And I think that that's how I mean, that's how I've been choosing love. And also, I've been choosing what is going to feel better, and not in the way of instant gratification, but in the way of, okay, if I hear this piece of gossip or this information, how is that going to help me? Why am I doing that? And then choosing differently. Okay, I want to feel good. And I don't mean like instant gratification, like I said, not like, oh, I want to check out and feel good. Like, no, I want to feel good about myself. And so, a woman a long time ago in the program of recovery that I've been in and out of my whole life, basically, told me that to have esteem, you have to do esteemable things. And so now that's kind of what I think about is, how do I want to feel about myself? How is this going to affect my self-worth and my self-esteem? And then that will help me make a choice, even if it's hard, you know? So I guess that's what I have to say about that.
So you're going to tune into gratitude.
Gratitude and how do I want to feel? How do I want to feel?
Be deliberate about how you feel.
Discernment. Deliberate discernment.
Yes.
Yes.
Beautiful. All right. I'm going to take that tip too and orchestrate that in my own life today. Tapping into the gratitude and the discernment. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Anything else coming through for you? How do people connect with you, Lindsay? And you do live in Myrtle Beach, in that area. And you have the podcast website, all handles. Please let us know and guests know how to contact you.
Okay.
Connect with you.
So, thank you. So I am available for shamanic work and readings and Reiki attunements privately. So you can reach out to me. I have a website if you want more information about all those things. It's Linzala Yoga, LINZALA yoga.com. That's also my Instagram handle. So you can reach out to me there as well and connect with me on there. On Facebook, I have Lindsay Worek Yoga and Healing. So just my name, Yoga and Healing. So you can check me out there as well. And I would be happy to work with you. My podcast is The Conduit on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. Currently, I'm doing the Tava Tuesday interview series that has kind of just blossomed, and I tried to end it, but God had other plans for me. So you can also hear about people's truth and spiritual journeys on there as well. And if you're interested in being a guest, I am open to interviewing other people because we all have a story to tell. And it's important to get your voice out. And if you want your voice and your story told, then definitely reach out to me. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for being on this path with me and being my friend and my sister and my family. And I honor you and I love you. And I feel so good right now doing this podcast. I can't
Talking about love, that is the intention of this podcast, is just to rise in love.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, when you were talking about your podcast, I love how, like, when I was a guest on your podcast, we were talking about love. We're picking it back up in conversation now. I love that I'm going to be working with you, and you're going to be doing the 52 destiny cards.
So
I don't know how old I am, apparently. Like, I have no idea. I thought I was 37. I'm 37, right? I'm going to be 38 in a few days. I have no fucking concept of that. I want to be like Prince and not celebrate my birthday because I've only technically had one birthday, and I'm trying to not prescribe to counting down my days. But yeah, so we're going to do that, and I'm excited for you to use your gifts and your knowledge and wisdom to dive into what the cards have to say for me in my own life. And it's been an honor, and I'm so eternally grateful for all that you have shared with me on this journey. You've shown me so much, you've shared so much, and you've connected me with so many people on this path that are doing extraordinary work. And it is an honor to walk this narrow path with you and to hold each other's hands while we navigate through this human experience well, perfectly, and in the most gracious way, honoring both our humanity and our divinity together. I love you.
I love you too. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. We hope you enjoyed this.